What's up everybody, Wally David here to bring you another video. Today we have an interesting video for you. We're going to be talking about popular fitness influencer Sam Sulek. I'm going to be going over everything from his training technique, exercise selection, and his diet. Okay, well that's it for the intro. Hopping right in. First of all, we're going to talk about his training split. Sam Sulek has a 4-day bro split, and a bro split basically means that you go into the gym with the mindset that you're focusing on one major muscle group of the body during that training session. So for example, you have on day 1 to be chest day, day 2 back day, day 3 leg day, and day 4 arm day. Now there are some drawbacks to this specific type of training method. When you're training the body like this, you only can end up training a muscle about 1 time per week, and we know that research shows that muscles take about 2 to 4 days to recover. So after that 4th days of recovery, the muscle just literally sitting there with 3 days, and you're missing an opportunity for growth, and you're leaving gain on the table. Well, Sam Sulek actually circumvents this by rotating and restarting his bro split immediately after it ends. So after these 4 days, first day being chest day, 4th day being arm day, he restart the entire split over, and he can do that. By doing that, he's getting the benefit of both worlds. He's getting that maximum attention to detail, while on the other side, he's also getting the maximum frequency, which is the recommended frequency, which is recommended around two times per week, or at least 2 times per week. Okay, so that's actually really good how he's overcoming the bro split situation while still getting enough volume by going into the bro split category. So let's move on to talk about his training technique, and we're going to divide this up into 2 categories, the good and the bad. And let's start off with the good. On the good thing about Sam, number 1 is that we always see him training to failure and sometimes past failure. And training to failure is a fundamental part of bodybuilding. The goal of a cell is to survive or reproduce, and when you subject a muscle cell to mechanical tension or stress that it normally is not accustomed to, it's trying to survive by adapting and becoming bigger and stronger. And we see Sam doing this by pushing every set he has to complete failure, sometimes going by failure by slamming into those partial reps. So that's really good. Okay, another thing that we start seeing him doing a lot is lengthening partials, and lengthening partials is kind of like a newer technique into bodybuilding. Very recently is when we're focusing on the eccentric or the negative portion of a rep, and there's many types of. So for an example, for eccentric or negative portion of the rep, example of this would be like if you're doing barbell curls, the part where you're lowering the weight, if you focus on that would be called eccentric training or long leg partials. And there's a number of benefits for this, things such as greater fiber recruitment, more activation, more hypertrophy, higher force production, because you're normally stronger in the section portion anyway. There's more, because of that you have more mechanical tension generated, and these all leads to increased muscle damage, increased micro tears, increased opportunities for time under tension. If you're paying attention to that time under tension, lower the weight very slow and controlly. Things like that are some of the type of benefits you can get from lengthened partials, which is really good. Okay, let's move on to some of the bad things about Sam Sulek's training that I would work on. Okay, on the flip side of that, we tend to see him losing very loose form. This means that we see him lowering the weight very fast after he threw it up super fast. So I mean, if you're not throwing up the weight fast in the first place, you're not getting any kind of tension, you're using momentum. And then if you're lowering it fast, there's not really any time under tension at all. We know that the essential part, as we just discussed, is the most important part of the rep, because you're stronger there, there's more chance of recruitment of fibers and so on and so forth. So if you're dropping that weight fast, the muscle is no longer under tension during that stage. And another thing that's even potentially worse than that is lowering the weight very fast is potentially dangerous in the long run, because there's a higher chance of injury. If you're not focused and controlling that work throughout the entire range of motion, it's very easy for you to over or hyperextend your joints during exercises, which can lead to a permanent injury, and that's definitely something that you don't want in the future. So I definitely wouldn't recommend that at all. Another thing on the bad side that we see from Sam is an inconsistent range of motion. So this means that in the same set or in the same rep, he will randomly switch between full range of motion and partial ranges of motion. So I mean, these are perfectly fine on their own, but you want to be able to go in with a mindset that you're picking where you want to go to. You don't want to randomly go from full range of motion to partial range of motion, because by doing that, you're not fully committing. Your attention is not on one barrier. You're leaving gains on the table and so on and so forth. So you just want to go in and fully commit. I'm either doing full range of motion, and then at the end of that, when I complete failure, then I'm going to switch to partial range of motion. That's kind of like a better mindset to have about that. Another thing we see from Sam Sulek that's not on a grade side is random exercise selection. Okay, he has this thing where instead of going to the gym with a notebook or an app and says that this is my back workout, I have a staple workout of an exercises and sets and reps that I'm going to do. He does something completely the opposite. He has this thing where he randomly goes in and chooses exercises based on feeling. Like if he's going to do lat pull downs and he just doesn't feel it, then he move on to barbell rows and so on and so forth. So I mean, there's a number of reasons that this is problematic. We just discussed the importance of training a muscle to failure, and even going beyond that, another thing is progressive overload. You want to continuously push it to get bigger by adding more and more weight that it's normally not accustomed to. Well, if you change your workouts every single session, that becomes very, very difficult to do, because if there's no baseline or no established line for you to measure against and to track against, and it's going to be hard for you to progress if you go into the gym to change chest and you're doing barbell bench press and you literally do one set and you immediately switch to flies and you do half a set and you immediately switch to dips. It's going to be hard for you to have a consistent standard and seeing if you're progressing well, if you need to switch something up, if you need to work on your recovery or so on and so forth. So that's definitely something that's not recommended. What I would actually do is I would have a specific workout plan that I'm going to stick to, and I would go into the gym and I would do that. And then at the end of the workout plan, I would take my notebook, my journal, I write down my comments, my feelings on the workout, and I'll actually stick to that for a while, months, and I would measure how my progress is going. If I see my progress is going, I will stick to it. If I see that my progress isn't going good and my exercises aren't getting that stronger, then at that point, I would consider changing on. Now let's move on to the most controversial part about Sam Sulek, and that is his diet or his nutrition, okay? Sam Sulek uses a flexible approach to dieting. This means that he does not have a staple meal plan, and does his calories vary from day to day. He is getting about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, which is really, really good, but he does not have a specific meal plan again, and is very, very unorthodox. Even by bodybuilding standards, he has a very, very unorthodox, unconventional style of eating. Instead of bodybuilders like to eat clean year round, for the most part, they like to eat same predictable meals, same predictable carb sources, protein sources, but Sam Sulek's diet is actually much more comparable to the average American diet. It is kind of strange, bizarre, for somebody calling himself a bodybuilder to have this type of dieting. For example, typical breakfast, 3 bowls of cereal, meal 2, candy bars, apple juice, meal 3, steak or cheeseburgers. During a workout, 100 grams of Gatorade, 100 grams of carbs during a workout. Then meal 4, ramen noodles and Krispy Kreme donuts. And that sounds very, very much like the average American diet. It's kind of crazy. But as controversial as it sounds, I'm actually in support of a diet, because during a diet, the most important thing during a diet is to find a diet approach that is working for you long term, as long as you're meeting your calorie and macronutrient goals. Okay, that's all it comes down to. As long as you're meeting your calorie and macronutrient goals, research doesn't say that you have to get a specific amount of carb from this source, or that you have to get carb from the high glycemic index, or that you have to stick with lean protein sources. It doesn't work like that, because in cellular respiration, which is basically the way that the body gets energy from food, the fate of every macronutrient is exactly the same. Okay, first law of thermodynamics, which is based on the conservation of energy. So if his goal is maintenance and he's eating a certain number of calories to maintain, then it actually doesn't matter where he's getting his calories from, as long as he's maintaining his weight. That's his real goal, maintenance of weight. So nobody has authority to judge him or to critique him on his diet, as long as he is getting his goals. Okay, so my overall rating for Sam Sulek, I'll give him 8 out of 10. Very, very controversial, unorthodox fitness influencer, but he has adopted a plan that is tailored to his specific goals. Bodybuilding is an individual process. As long as you're meeting your goals, it doesn't matter how you get there. Nobody can judge you. There's no such thing as an objective or optimal way to train. You do not have to do a specific exercise, split, or technique. You don't have to do barbell squats if you don't want to. I don't like barbell squats. I prefer hack squats. You don't have to have a certain type of split. You don't need to do a certain number of days. There's nothing like that. As long as you are meeting your goals, and then the vehicle you take to get there is your own personal decision. If you're satisfied with your results, keep doing what you're doing. That's the bottom line. If you're satisfied with your results, keep doing what you are doing. Okay, nobody has the authority to judge you or critique you or say that you should be doing something else. I have this model that I think that results are way, way better than research. If I can only pick one of those, I will be on the former side of the spectrum of that. Okay, everybody says that Arnold Schwarzenegger overtrained, even by today's standards, and I do agree with you. I do think he overtrained, but he was the 7-time Mr. Olympia. Everybody says that Jay Cutler has bad form, but he was also the 4-time Mr. Olympia. Well, thank you guys very much. That's conclusive for the video. Thank you for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, if you're struggling with weight loss and would like tips on sustainable, effective weight loss, please check out my ebook in the description. See you all in the next video. Peace.